up, guys? Today I'll be showing you how to make what you just saw in that little video. The things you're going to need is a projector, of course, a computer, a HDMI cable so those can talk to each other, and then for the audio reactive portion, which is kind of optional, you'll need an audio interface, a microphone, an XLR cable, and then also Ableton Live 12. You might be able to use like the free trial version. I'm really not too sure. If somebody tries that, let me know if it works. But before we get into Touch Designer, you're going to need to get some clips. So what I did for the background clips is I went to this site and just got a bunch of like stock, like grainy old Super 8 videos. And it's just something nice, pleasing to look at in the background. And then you can put those all in Premiere or Resolve or even iMovie if you got to use that. Just some way to get all the videos one after another. And once you got that, you can move to Touch Designer. So whenever you first open Touch Designer, this is what it'll look like. We can just go ahead and delete all these guys. And so first, we basically need to map out our kick drum. Kick drums are going to be pretty easy because they're circular. So what we can do is just add a circle top in here, and then I'm also going to connect a transform so we're able to move this circle around. Now that we got our kick drum shape, we're going to go ahead and add our media files. So we'll add a movie file in for our background videos. So now I got those in there. I'm using the free version of Touch Designer, so I have to change up my resolution, and you want to make your circle match whatever resolution you're using for these videos too. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're actually going to scale it down using the radius. Now we got to get this movie file over the circle, so what we're going to do is use a composite. Just drag these two into here, and as you can see, that gives us our video in this little circle. Now if this is all you wanted, you could totally just add a null here and use this, but we're gonna also put our logo over all this, so let's go ahead with that. We're going to add another movie file in. For this part, you will need your logo or your image, whatever you're using, on a transparent background. So now we got this in there, and we're gonna have to change our resolution again. And so for this step, we want our image over our movie before it hits the circle, so that way the logo isn't going outside the circle. So we can go ahead and disconnect these, and we're going to use an overtop. So we want our image over our video, and then we can just drag the output of this right back into our composite. And as you can see, that logo doesn't exactly fit, so what we can do to fix that is just add another transform. So you could totally have this be it, and it'd be a super cool graphic to display at a little show or something. Or you can go one step further and add the audio reactive aspect to it, which really isn't too much work. So we're going to start off in Ableton and get that project set up. Alright, so now that we're in Ableton, we only really need an audio track, so we're just going to go ahead and delete all these others except for one. And if you don't have any buddies to help you out with this like I did, you can grab any kind of kick track. There's a website, if you just Google like free multi-tracks, you can find, just find one of those and find one like in your genre, so that way it's kind of similar to how you'll be playing, but we'll go ahead and get that in there now. So y'all probably won't be able to hear this, but this track is just kick drum going. One thing I did for this was I used drum bus, basically set everything back so they're not really affected, and then play with this transients knob just to kind of clean up the drum sound. I'm using it on my kick. I don't have a porthole, so there was a lot of bleed through cymbals and guitars and stuff, so you can just use this to kind of isolate just those transients, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So once you have this track set up, you can head back over to Touch Designer, and we're going to be using something already built into Touch Designer known as TD Ableton. It's a super great tool. you can use it for a whole bunch of stuff, visuals or like syncing tracks, anything your heart desires. If you guys saw one of my last videos, I made like a whole hand tracking synthesizer. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. But you can find it right here. And we're gonna go 11 plus, and we want to grab the whole TD Ableton package. Just gonna drop that right into our project. And so you want to make sure you have Ableton open once you do this. It's gonna prompt you with this little box. If you've never used TD Ableton before, I'd recommend looking up a video. I'm not really gonna get into how to install it and how to set it up in this video. Call this song whatever you want. I'll call it Kick Map Create. You can see it'll connected, and if we come back to Ableton, you can see on our master track we now have this TDA master. Now we can zoom right into this, and there's a whole lot of stuff here. These are basically all the different tools inside this package that you can use, but the one we're concerned with is track. So we're going to find Ableton track right here, just copy it, zoom out, and paste it. So now we need to specify which track we want to use. So we'll just select track 1, kick out, and if I come back here and I just start playing this track, you can see it's playing here, and that's just going to loop. Just want to make sure your Touch Designer project is playing. But once you got that playing, you can see our kick is in here going, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take this top one here, and we're just going to grab a select chop. So all we really want is any kind of volume, so that way we can detect the hits. So it doesn't matter if you grab the left or the right channel in this case. I'm just going to grab the left because it's the first one. And as you can see, it's pretty all over the place. It's not too smooth. If we were to apply this to our graphic, it'd be super in your face, pretty annoying. So we're just going to use a lag chop, and this is going to smooth it out, as you can see, super nicely. Once this is in here, it's as easy as hitting this little button and then coming over to your transform and just dragging this lag right onto the scale, and then chop reference. And now as you can see, that's giving us that nice pulsating effect. As far as doing this live, what I did was I just hooked up a mic to my interface, and then if you come back to Ableton, you would just hit in, so that way you're input monitoring, and then that'll still send out volume. I don't have a mic connected to it right now, but yeah, that would work. And so real quick, as one last thing I'm going to show you guys is just a little effect to make this maybe a little nicer or a little bit more psychedelic if that's something you'd want. Just going to insert a feedback top right here, and then before we do anything with this, I'm just going to add a keyboard in. You'll see why in a minute. And we're going to drag this keyboard in onto this button that says pulse right here. So that way whenever we hit this, it just resets our feedback. So next, what we want to do is add another composite, and this is getting a little messy, so I'm going to move some stuff around real quick. And so once we have our composite here, we're just going to drag our original transform logo into there. So once you have that dragged onto there, we are going to then drag this composite on top of this feedback node, and that'll link those together. Now, as you see, this is looking pretty crazy. That's what our one button will do. Just kind of resets that to help us. And once you have this in here, you can set this to under, and it's still pretty crazy. So we're going to add a level top and mess with the opacity. And so once you mess with this opacity, you can see just brings down some of those. It gives you that nice little fade, and then feel free to add as much as you want to this. I'd like to add a blur. If just to kind of smooth those out, but this is all, totally creative choice. And yeah, once you have that going, that's basically it. You'll just set up your projector in front of your kick drum, and then you can use another transform at the very end here, and that'll allow you to, move this circle wherever it needs to be, kind of help you fine tune it. But yeah, that's basically it. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.